All right, this is SSL Family Dad, and today we're making pure maple syrup. So I've taken you guys along for some of the process of making maple syrup, but I thought I'd take you through from start to finish. How's things been working and how much sap have we collected? The goal was 1,000 gallons of sap this year. Now the season's not over with, but we still have some work ahead of us. So once all of the trees have been tapped, the next thing in the process for making maple syrup is collecting and boiling. The tractor has been broken, so I've resorted to my truck. I just keep the barrel in the back of my truck here. I have a little makeshift funnel that goes on the top of this. This just kind of helps me guide the pour into the barrel so I don't drip quite as much. And then I just have this tube and valve hooked up, so I just set a bucket on the ground. We'll fill the bucket up with sap, and I don't really have to filter the sap coming out of here because any debris, sticks, twigs, things like that that got in here, they'll be floating at the top, and anything that's heavy will sink to the bottom. And this valve actually is just a few inches off the bottom, so you get the cleanest sap. Now once I get down to the bottom of this and I'm just getting the end of it out, I'll filter that last pour to make sure we get any debris out of it. But for the most part it comes out pretty clean. And so I'll just take this in to 5-gallon buckets and I'll take it into the evaporator bucket at a time. Now I could get a longer hose, and next year I'll set this up better where I'll actually have I'll just pull the truck up and then I'll pump this or drain this directly into the sap pan. This year I've just been taking it a bucket at a time, which works fine. As I'm out in the woods collecting sap, I'm also collecting wood. So dead wood, stuff down laying around on the ground, I'll grab a load of it every once in a while when I'm out in the woods and bring the wood up. And this is what I've been burning, just small stuff. This will get me going the rest of the day today, as well as probably the next boil later on this week. So most of the sap is pretty easy to collect. I've got these jugs around the yard, all the close ones, smaller collection containers that I can collect more often. Well, then we have these buckets out here where we collect the majority of the sap. And collecting the sap has actually been pretty easy. We've been using kayaks. And the kayaks have worked really well, but now the water level is so low that even the kayak is becoming very difficult because it gets stuck on everything. So now we're just reduced to trudging through the water. Do what it takes to get it done. Probably next year I'll get some waders. All right, we are filled. It only got a little bit wet. I know a lot of people think I'm crazy for walking through all the cold water. Many have said so. And someone even offered to buy me a pair of waders. Larry, thank you. I appreciated the offer. But the bottom line is there's always one more thing I need. There's always, there's something needs to be fixed. There's always something to buy, new boots, new waders, new this, new that. And sometimes you just need to just get out and get things done. I'm not worried about getting wet. I can dry off. I can dry my boots off. I'm only in the water for, 20-30 minutes at a time, maybe once every few days, or even once or twice a week. So it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, it's a little bit cold and it's not ideal, but it is what it is. So we got to get the job done. Now what I need to do is take all of this sap. I've got a full drum here. I've got the evaporator filled up. It's been boiling all day. We'll finish off all that I have here tonight, and then we'll take it in and we'll get it all finished into some awesome maple syrup. We do all of our evaporating in here in the greenhouse. This is the DIY cinder block evaporator. And I'll tell you what, this thing works. It works very, very, very well. Once it gets going, it takes about two hours to really get up to temperature. It heats up these bricks and everything gets really hot. And that thing is just like an incinerator. I mean, I throw wood in there about every hour, and I can add 2, 3, sometimes 4 buckets, 5, 6 gallon buckets of sap to this thing an hour, and it keeps up. So I try to keep about 4 to 6 inches in the pan. This pan can hold about 50, it could hold about 50, 55 gallons if I really filled it all the way up to the top. But I try to keep about 30 gallons in there, 20 to 30 gallons of sap in there, and it seems to keep boiling the best at that point. And these new air fans that I put in are working great. They suck the humidity right out of here, and you should have seen this place before I had these fans in here. The level of the humidity was all the way down to the ground. I mean, you couldn't even see in front of your face. The whole greenhouse was filled up, and it was really hard to keep it completely ventilated. But with those 2 fans in here on high, this plate, it just sucks that moisture right out of there. So as I bring in the sap from the woods, I'll just pour it in here. This boil has been going since about 10 o'clock this morning, and it's about 5 o'clock at night now, and so I just keep adding to it all day. I'll be just about out of sap here in the next couple hours. I'll let this die down, and then I'll drain off the almost finished sap, and which is just about syrup at that point, and I'll bring it inside for finishing. Well, you can tell we're steaming now. All right, so we have moved in from the greenhouse after a long day of boiling. Went through a lot of sap yesterday out in the greenhouse. I like to bring it in and finish it on the stove. So last night, pretty late in the morning, I let the fire kind of go out, let the sap cool down, and then I started bringing it inside. And this morning we'll finish it all off here. So I've got kind of a warming pot here where we'll get everything warmed up, and I'll start boiling it in this one, and then we'll be transferring it over here as this boils down, and this is my finishing pot. So we'll get this finished down. It does take a few hours to boil through all the sap that we have brought in here, and we'll get this finished, filtered, and put in some bottles. The absolute best sugar, the best kind of sugar in the world. Honey and maple syrup, man, this stuff is great. Pure, right out of the trees. There's only one ingredient, sap from a maple tree. So we love this stuff here, and it's just a great thing to be able to make some of our own. Production is not going to be as high as we wanted it to be this year, but we are still making progress. We had that big failure in the evaporator, probably wasted about 3 gallons there, maybe even more than that, 3 or 4 gallons of good finished syrup we wrecked. We've had a lot of issues with getting the trees tapped and collecting and stuff like that due to the flooding. So we've learned a lot. Next year is going to be probably 2 to 3 times better than it has been this year. But we still have some season left here. It looks like the next couple weeks we still may get a couple more runs, and we'll be boiling. So far we have collected 555 gallons of sap. Way behind where I thought I'd be at this time. I probably am not going to collect more than maybe a couple hundred more gallons at the very most, and so we definitely aren't going to make our 1,000-gallon goal this year. We will do a final wrap up on the season here when everything's closed out and we're taking the taps out of the trees, so we'll let you know how far we came at that point. We've had a lot of fun this year though, and it's been a lot of work, but it's satisfying making this stuff. It's just neat. It's a neat resource to just have here. So as always, guys, subscribe if you'd like to follow along. All kinds of great stuff coming up in the spring and summer here. Can't wait to get that hay equipment out of the barn. SSLFamilyFarm.com if you want to check out the maple syrup. We do have some limited stock available. Shipping is kind of expensive. It's just the way it is when you're shipping these things. So we got as cheap as we possibly could, but it is what it is there. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.